I have learnt about networks and about dissemination of information, and I have learnt quite a lot about the way in which the Dolab study has made a number of findings which are very important, and we need to get out and talk about it.
I was fascinated by this Dolab study. I just heard of it. No, I didn't know any details, and it's great that it's all now being made public and freely available. I think it's what my group would have predicted, although it's very good to see such a tightly controlled scientific study done, showing the impact of DHA, Omega-3 fatty acids, on achievement.
Well, certainly the Dolab study is fantastic. It's actually looking at these children and looking at this fat status, which is so important. One of the questions that came up was, you know, everybody's been told about a low-fat diet for so long, and it's so difficult to get this idea that actually fat is not bad, fat is good. There are certain fats which are essential. You know, our brain is made of fat. But get that idea across to the general population is so important. And hopefully then through to policymakers, because unless the policymakers actually take all of this on board and look at it seriously, how can we change people's habits?
I've learnt a number of useful things about the Dolab study that I will take away when I'm writing up my research and use that as some inspiration. And I've also learnt that, again, something we as a population need to do something.
What I've learnt today is really what's been driving me personally insane, I'd say, for the last 20 years, is there's this message, there's this answer staring all of us in the face about how fish oils, is what we're talking about today, is so useful in helping common health problems, and the diet is really what's affecting community health. In reality, these days, years ago, it was communicative diseases like bacteria and viruses and plagues and what have you. But you know, most of the global burden of health is diet-related and preventable. And despite diabetes, obesity, brain and behavioural problems, autism, people aren't, for some reason, addressing their diet. And I just wish there was a way that we could really get this important information out and make a difference to public health, particularly children who are, as I say, the future of our nation.
Well, I've been to a lot of FAB conferences, and I've built up a lot of my knowledge over time. I've heard most of the speakers before. Today, from Alex's new study, the Dolab study, the statistic I found most incredible was that with the new blood test they're doing now, where they can just pinprick the blood and assess it, to find out that only 2.46% or 48% of children have enough DHA in their blood supply is shocking, when it needs to be, you know, at least 5% higher. It was quite a revelation.
There's some really interesting findings from the Dolab study, which the main results were published about a month or two ago, but there's some new findings that have been brand new published and discussed today, which I'll be writing about almost immediately, and also some really interesting debates on the difference that there's sort of a consensus now that maybe there's enough evidence for DHA and Omega-3, so now it's a case of how the industry and public health officials can bring together that and try and increase consumption levels. And I think that that's something that's going to be really relevant for myself and for the industry I cover as well. So
I think what was good about today is looking at the research. I really like that getting the evidence, stripping it back, looking at the evidence and saying, so that we know the reasons why we need DHA or we need some of those essential fats in the diet. And I think that often can get missed along the way, especially when research is done. Whereas today it was actually explained and you could look at it and analyse it and ask questions about it, and I think that was excellent.